Thrand here.
Hail, this is Eldgrim.
Today we're here with Antony Cummins' new book. Antony Cummins sent us a book 6 months early. We're sorry we haven't. It's called The Samurai and the Ninja. And this book's unique from what he normally does.
Yeah, it is. And I was enthralled by this book. When this comes out in bookstores, guys, get you a copy. You're going to find yourself captivated by this book. It dispels a lot of the myths that surround both the samurai and the ninja, a lot of the pop culture, romantic ideas. Yeah.
He makes them seem very much like early European lords in medieval Europe. I mean, the daimyo, the shogun, the samurai, the ashigaru.
That's right.
He also explains how the shinobi was a specialized skill, but also part of the samurai caste or culture.
That's right.
It wasn't totally separate. They were enemies, and it explains how the families did have their differences. When you read this book, if you study a lot of sagas, you will notice there's a lot of similarities between the early Japanese and the actual Scandinavians and Vikings.
It's true.
A lot of the culture is very similar in a lot of ways.
Ritual suicide is one of those.
Yeah, they did have some ritual suicide, not as often.
And ritual executions.
And also, believe it or not, the Japanese would sometimes want to have a ritual suicide to follow someone who passed on. It was great that they wanted to follow in the afterlife, to do them honor and serve them if they were their servants.
Sounds very Scandinavian.
In the Edo period, I believe they actually outlawed it because people would do that. And
True.
we know Scandinavian wives and people would want to follow their husband and would try to jump on the funeral pyre.
Yeah.
And they had to stop them. The families had to literally stop them. So it's the same kind of thing as enforcing a law.
Exactly. And you know that we were talking about ritual execution / suicide. And that's what we're going to test today on this episode.
Seppuku, or otherwise some people call it hara-kiri. That means to open one's belly. Today we're going to cover it and how that once you were in that situation, we honestly believe you were pretty much screwed. Even if you changed your mind, you were supposed to carry through with it. I mean, it was pretty much an execution at that point. Because there were people who would be there who didn't really want to be in that position and were liable to try to lash out at the family who was pretty much forcing them to do it, or the powers that be. The observer would be sitting out in front of them, and he had to set a certain distance too, just to make sure that person didn't get to him. Yeah, so he couldn't reach him. I mean, there's lots of little details, like the blade was wrapped in rice paper without a handle.
A lot like we have
which
here.
We don't have an actual wakizashi, but it'd be an extremely short wakizashi wrapped in rice paper. So there's no handle. Somebody would ritualistically bring it out to them. And then they had the second behind him. But was the second there so much as to aid him so he didn't suffer and die? Or was he there to make sure he carried through with it? Because if he tried to do anything other than what he was supposed to do, he was supposed to execute.
Then it begs the question, is it suicide or execution?
I think at that point it was a ritualistic suicide / execution. It was both.
Sort of like the Vikings did with, an honor thing. Well, hey, you can wrap yourself around a tree with your intestines.
I've heard that one as well. Yeah, I also see this very much like in the Viking Skringla saga, the saga, Olaf's Tryggvason saga. And that one, he actually, there's a young guy with beautiful blonde hair, and he's handsome, and he doesn't want blood in his hair. It's very much like in the episode Vikings. This is where they got it from, where Hearst got it from. And he tells them that he wants someone to hold his hair so he does not get it bloodied or damaged.
Right.
So he'll have a pretty head, when he goes on. They go ahead and hold his hair, and he twitches and jerks so violently.
Right, yeah.
So when Hakon goes to use the axe to behead him over, I guess, the block or what do they have, or if he's just leaning forward like the Japanese.
Yeah.
He cuts the hands off. And
it's pulling down, and as he pulls back, the guy's hands are still there.
Hakon is so taken by surprise that he immediately is in shock, and the young handsome guy jumps up, taking the axe away from him, and kills him with a death blow.
And I understand he laughed a bit in that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, that shows you that's a Vikings method of, look, they're going to execute me, I'm going along with it. Oh, no, I'm not. I mean, they were worried about it. I'm sure there were famous samurai that, or Ronin even, that might be going along with something like this. When I say Ronin, they really didn't follow the Bushido code so strictly. Or they may even be shinobi. They may have actually been into the Shinto beliefs. They may have thought, well, hey, I'll just take some people out with me.
Hey, he who laughs last laughs best.
One of the old traditions is they would practice dodging a blade that they did not know was behind them from intent, moving out of the way. Who knows, to say it was for the second behind them, that they might take his sword and try to finish off the witnesses.
That's a good theory.
Observer that were on the other side.
Well, let's get these tests started. Show people how Antony Cummins has described it out of the scrolls.
We're going to go by his description here, so if anything's not accurate to what you've read or seen, these are just details that make sure the person's insured to go through with it and what it would possibly look like. We've got our Ivar the Draugr head, which is Ivar the samurai today. So see how he fares.
We should give him a Japanese name.
Oh yeah, most certainly.
Like maybe Shirokobocha. White pumpkin.
Oh, there you go. All right, I'm in the position of the observer, which is the person who witnesses it for whoever official or family that's seeing this carried through to make sure that it was done and done correctly. And I'm approximately 11.5 feet away. And with him with his paper wrap blade, I'm assuming with him kneeling, that's so he can't get up in time and get to me if I were to need to cut him down, so to speak, or someone to aid me near me. So, I mean, if that was the case, then I would have probably guards with me and so on, and other witnesses behind me, maybe family members and stuff that are going to cry and witness it or think it's honorable and what have you. But I would be at a safe distance. That's one of the things we wanted to stress. I wouldn't be within a closer range where he could easily jump up and, some movies you see this, and execute me instead. Okay, now we have Eldgrim-san, and he is the second for Ivar or whatever we want to call him. And
Shirokobocha.
There you go. And he's sitting here with his rice paper wrapped wakizashi that's been brought to him, or short blade, tanto or something. Sometimes I've heard that's been done. And Eldgrim is in a position where he gives him some room to act. You know, he can actually act and do his seppuku or his harikari or whatever terms you want to use for it. But let's say all of a sudden we notice, the observer nods at him and he notices this guy's getting fidgety. He's moving his legs. He seems like he's going to pounce or jump, or he looks angry towards the observer, like he's not going to follow through with this. He looks scared, freaked out, like something's going to take place. At any time, Eldgrim can go ahead and impale him straight through. And we have this set up today to see how the effect would be and if he could actually make it through the body and whether it would kill him and how easy.
Oh! I hit a board on the other side.
Ooh, you did?
Yeah.
Let's see what it did, though. I see blood coming out. We went clean through the ballistics gel.
I hit the jug on the other side.
Our bloody jug. So, other than being stopped by this front piece of wood that would act very much like a bone, it went completely through the ballistics gel, which is hard to see here. Kind of ripping the ballistics gel at the side, tearing through. Came through our bottle and into our wood. The wood's the only thing that stopped it.
Yep.
Remember, that's not the most advantageous method of stabbing someone, because you're sitting there just in case. It's not necessarily you're, going to get the perfect mechanics of battle to drive it through somebody. But that's beautiful, because if the wood wasn't there, I have no doubt it would have just kept going. I mean, we can see right here it would have just went clean through.
Yep, I caught that wooden leg.
But that could, a rib or something could do the exact same thing. So you might get stuck in the body.
Pretty awesome.
Went through the ballistics gel and our fabric. Of course, a lot of times they'd have thicker fabric, but I doubt it for an execution. They'd be wearing very light fabric.
That's pretty cool. That was fun to do. And messy. Look at that blood trail.
All right, Eldgrim wanted to try his idea of being comfortable and just do it the way he feels would be comfortable.
So, here you go.
We notice he's sitting there, he's getting fidgety, has not done anything like seppuku. Oh! Yeah, I think it's supposed to be a little higher up than that, but I think you deboweled him anyway. But our medium's a little bit lower than it should be anyway. So let's see how we did on the ballistics gelatin. That looked nasty. All that is very difficult to go through.
Oh yeah, I went through the cloth and everything.
Oh, most certainly. Oh, and you had gone through the ballistics gel, but when you cut side to side, you ripped through it, because you hit down at the lower section, you ripped through the ballistics gelatin. And then of course you've got the bottle behind it, and you cut the rest of the fluid out, which you knew was at the bottom anyway. So.
Oh, that was sweet.
Very nasty, very nasty. Okay, I've been witnessing the execution. I know our actual seppuku. He's done something that he's supposed to do. He sat here, he's in pain. I step up, and as I walk around, I notice he has actually gutted himself. I'm in shock, but I see this, and I want to end his suffering. He's done something very honorable act, so I want to make sure that I cut the head properly, and it's a clean cut.
Oh!
And I believe that was a clean cut. That's what you would want. from your second, especially if he was a good friend of yours. He might not be. He may be somebody who just appointed to make sure you carried through with it, or he might actually be a relative. You never know, or from your household, or one of your faithful servants, or your retainers, or somebody you took personally with you, knowing if you actually went through with this, which I'm sure in your mind you know if you were going to go through with this, you'd want a man who could do this. And sorry, I would hate to have to do that for somebody, but I would rather do that than to watch the poor guy suffer if he was a good friend here with a blade in his guts. These could take days. Who knows? Depends on how deep he gets it. If he cuts it out properly, maybe a few hours, but it's surely be bad suffering.